Right. So my name is Najmuddin, or Muhammad Najmuddin bin Muhammad San. Thank you very much, first of all, to COFEX for actually inviting me today. I was actually I am definitely honored, very surprised also when Kahong invited me for this event, basically. And then he asked about the topic, actually what I wanted to share. I think in the coffee industry, I'm still very new, I would say, right? Not still less than 10 years of experience. Okay. So after thinking of what kind of topics I would like to share, and then I told Kahong maybe I can talk a little bit about passion versus purpose. Okay. So me myself, I actually started as an English teacher. So I was actually a TESA graduate from UiTM. All right. So I did started my barista career back in 2014, basically. So in 2014, I worked at a normal restaurant. They have a coffee machine. I remember it was a BBM. All right. I think I fall in love, of course, with the latte art at first. So it was like all the way doing latte art, doing like caramel macchiatos, like with all the caramel syrup, learning all those kind of things. And then from that moment, I think at the back of my head, actually it's quite easy, macam senang nak operate cafe. So I figured maybe sooner or later, I will actually start my own coffee shop, okay, my own brand. So actually the brand is a different name from this one. So this FCR Forever Coffee Roasters is actually a new brand that I had just started in September last year, okay, after something happened with my previous company. Okay, so basically, since 2014, I managed to work at an Australian cafe called Cotter Coffee. Alright, no worries. Called Cotter Coffee. So it was at Cotter Coffee where I actually dived deep into the coffee industry. Because back then when I started at the first cafe, it was just about latte art and things like that. Even I think calibration was just so basic understanding about that. When I worked at Cotter Coffee, the boss, I remember Mr. Richard, was actually very open, very supportive, where I learned a lot about calibration, what is single origin, what is house blend. Even I learned a lot about roasting coffee. So I think I owe it up to him, to Mr. Richard and Cotter Coffee for what they have taught me. Not only I think in terms of the coffee part, but they also taught me about the industry, the service industry basically, on how to actually treat your customers, like remember their names, remember their menu, remember their orders and things like that. So it was like a huge eye-opener for me, I would say. And then I did 2 years in a local school back in my hometown in Batu Pahat. I taught English for the Form 5 and Form 4, which is the 16 years old and 17 years old. But I cannot stand it because I think student nowadays is just a bit completely different from my father's years. Because my father was also an English teacher, already retired. So I think school children back then and nowadays is like super crazy. So I think a huge part of it was because maybe they always assign new teachers to teach the bad classes, which is very excruciatingly difficult to teach English to those bad classes, right? So it was just like very mundane. I feel like I should be able to do something more, but a part of me actually wanted to be something more than what my father actually had been. So I grew up watching my father. When we go everywhere, there was always like a student, hey sir, how are you? Hi sir, how are you? Even like we go to Malacca or we go to KL, even at the toll booth, even one of his students was working at the toll booth when we were paying the toll, right? Hi sir, how are you? So that was a very interesting, all right? So I feel like if I were to top that would be super difficult because I understand being a teacher is a very, very hard work, especially in today's setting, right? So I feel like I couldn't do that. Then I just quit school, but I told my dad I had quit school. I had sent my resignation letter 2 months after. So you can imagine how mad my parents actually was. When I told them, okay, I actually had quit, but you cannot do anything because I already submitted 2 months ago. And then like, okay, done. So I feel with the experience I had with Kotel Coffee before, we opened up our first cafe in Malacca. So the brand was called AKUSUKAKOPI. So AKUSUKAKOPI translates to I like coffee. So it is very straightforward. AKUSUKAKOPI, we opened up in Malacca. That was when reality hits. So I quit without any backups, without any financial savings and things like that. I had like maybe less than 1,000 in my bank account. But I just being young and stupid, just send my resignation letter and then okay, let's do it and see how things goes. To my surprise, actually, it's not all gold and glitter basically, because when you go into the coffee business or setting up a business, actually it's what goes behind the scene that is much more I would say needs to be taken care of. So when we open up a cafe, we are working with people, baristas and things like that. Plus at that moment, our cafe was in Malacca. I had just gotten married, and then me and my wife is actually living here in Selangor, in Shah Alam. So can you guys just imagine, back and forth every week I was actually going from Shah Alam to Malacca. So the first 6 months was very fun to me, very exciting. If you guys have ever been to Malacca, it's a very lively city before COVID. So it's very fun, very vibrant. Plus that place, we rented a 3-story building. So the ground floor was the cafe and the kitchen. Second and third floor is actually the Airbnb. So that was also a very unique and interesting learning experience for me, because I managed to meet a lot of different foreigners, with weird experiences. I remember one guy from Germany, he did a sabbatical, 1 year holiday. He modified his own bicycle to have a motor and things like that. So he used the bicycle to travel around the world. So the cafe was one of his pit stop because we have an Airbnb upstairs. So I talked to him, and then it was super interesting. And then I remember there's a couple from France, and then there's one guy, he's like a fruitarian. I asked him, what do you usually eat? So he just only eats mangoes, fruits, like apples. I remember his complaint was that in Thailand, the fruit was cheap, and then when it came to Malaysia, fruit was expensive. That's it. So it was I would say it was an eye-opener, definitely. So learning and gathering insights, gathering stories from those different people that I met, I think that is what brought me closer or even deeper to the coffee industry. Coffee industry ni just a side lah. I think I would prefer it as a service industry, because I love meeting the people and I love actually learning from them. Because my motto is that the people that I met is either going to teach me something or they are going to learn something from me. Basically, okay. So COVID happens. When COVID happens, we pivot the business into a coffee roastery. So that was when we started as a roastery. It was at my apartment. I remember I converted the kids' room into a roasting room. So it was at the 4th floor. So luckily, the neighbors didn't complain about the smoke and about the chaff coming out from the window actually. So I remember I started just a 1 kilo roasting machine I bought from Indonesia. And then the reason we pivot is because during COVID, the only business that is allowed to operate is like a factory. So we turn into the production sector. So that is why we pivot into the roastery. And then thank goodness, throughout COVID, it was booming. I think it grew the business to what it was last year. Okay, and then it grew the branding, and then people starts to know us and everything like that. It was a very interesting experience. Plus, I had no complaints because I think most of you know what had happened with COVID. There's a lot of people are much more less fortunate than us. Couldn't be able to get food and things like that. But it's the opposite, I think, for some businesses. Also for coffee industry, during COVID was wow. We are all booming. So it's even some of my peers also, we miss a COVID season. If you want to tell the public like that, it's crazy lah. They cannot, right? So it was like an interesting experience. So I did grow the company, and then fast forward to last year, actually something happened, and then I was not to say forced lah. So actually I had prepared for it. So I created this new company, Forever Coffee Roasters. At first the name was in Malay, Selamanya Coffee. The reason being is that I would love to actually do this coffee thing forever, basically, for the rest of my life. But I couldn't see me doing anything else besides coffee at the moment. Okay, but we never know tomorrow what might happen. So Forever Coffee Roasters, we are actually focusing a lot on supplying now. We are doing a wholesale supply, OEM and things like that. And then we are also doing consultation, but our strength is definitely still in terms of education. So I am still a teacher, but not English teacher. Now I'm a coffee teacher, okay? So to relate, I think in terms of passion versus purpose, I think I started out as a passion towards doing coffee. But I think to be like why I did jump into the coffee industry, I think was when in 2014 I was like, I think it was heartbroken if I'm not mistaken. So I was like, what else to do? So then I tried to work in a cafe. So actually not in 2014. So in the service industry, I actually started back when I was 15 years old. So 15 years old, can you guys just imagine? I worked at a mama restaurant actually. So imagine like this place, working with all the other mama staff. So it's like very interesting, but their work ethic is like very like up here. So that's where I think I learned a lot also from when working at the mama store when I was 15 years old. Okay. So at first it was passion, right? Yes. And then as I go along, I definitely, as the company grows, previously it was me alone. And then as the company grows, we have staff coming in, I had to hire people and things like that. So definitely I need to get my purpose right. So that is the time to actually go a bit more focused. So I cannot like play around anymore. So basically, I started out as a passion project. I like coffee, and I think like, okay, opening up a coffee shop would be very easy to do without knowing, right? Because I think we usually see, like this place right now, very nice place, very nice cafe, seems like an easy thing to do. But when the moment we jump in, then you're in like, oh my goodness, actually it looks harder than it, it looks harder to do it, right? So now, very thankful with all the opportunities that I have been getting. So even though FCR is a new brand, right? The branding that I've built, because like the previous brand, people know the brand as like my face, like well, my face is the front face of the brand. So luckily, when I switched to FCR, I made this new brand. Most of my customers also already migrated, and then they started to also get the bill from me, basically. So far, I think it's a journey in terms of doing business. All right, so we just have to enjoy it. The ups and downs is actually a lot. I'm sure if I were to tell you guys today, the stories would be very endless. But I'm just like very thankful. I have like a very supportive family. My parents, my in-laws, even my wife, right, who stood by me when I was at my lowest, basically. All right. So again, I wouldn't have much more else to share, basically. So if you guys want to find me, maybe on Instagram or especially on Instagram, so you can search FCR. So there where you will find me. We are also doing like podcasts and things like that. Thank you very much. Thank you for listening.